Yeah, so my name's Alec, and so I'm the editor of Homepros, and we are a digital news publisher, and we cover the mostly the residential HVAC industry. So we write about what's happening regulatory, regulation-wise, technology-wise, market-wise, M&A, all this stuff kind of in the HVAC industry. And our primary readers are business owners of contracting businesses. And so, we had several months ago, I don't know exactly what the date was, but several months ago, we had a kind of a need for where I wanted to kind of up the volume of content we were putting out. I was kind of getting a little, swamped personally, and I hadn't necessarily brought on any, part-time free, whatever you want to call, whatever the term is, but help from an editorial standpoint, from a writing standpoint. And so, long story short, decided to do that. I got connected with Nate. And we had an initial call, and just to kind of introduce where I introduced myself, he introduced himself, and we just kind of talked through how what he does works. Kind of I talked through what we're doing and kind of what I'm looking to get at, which is just up the volume of stories that we're writing. Here's sort of our format, here's our style, here's our audience. We talked through a number of things like that. And then we kind of just really dug into it, or we agreed to do it. We kind of got into it, and so moving forward from there, we kind of set up just a pretty simple system for me to like say, hey, here's a story that we want to get done. We were able to communicate that pretty fast, and then every week we got into a cadence of doing a story together where Nate would run with it and put something together, put it together. And yeah, but as soon as we got into it, I remember the first story, the first story we did. The thing that one of the things that stood out to me was that, I mean, Nate had zero subject matter expert, deep knowledge of the HVAC industry, which I didn't expect him to, and I don't expect him to. But when I read the story, I actually wouldn't have known that because it was sourced and it was reported and it was, it just had substance, like as if he had already kind of been covering the industry for a while. And so that was a very pleasant surprise to me. And yeah, I kind of just knew right away, like, yeah, okay, this is obviously legit, and this is, I'm looking forward to, continuing to do this. So, yeah, then every week we did that. I would put together again just a couple notes, and here's kind of a nugget of an idea, but not really much. It's not like I would templatize anything or just say, look, here's some raw notes and here's some links. And he had did a phenomenal job of going and putting those things together and kind of doing some research and digging into what was happening and finding additional context and quotes from other places around the web and drafting a really sharp story. Um, I would often, I may look at it and say, hey, can we add this, add that? But it really didn't happen too often, to be completely honest. I, mostly took what he had and ran with it. And it was also he also had a very quick turnaround. I often would like send you a story, and in my mind I'm like mentally budgeting to like hear from you like 3 days later or something, and then like 6 hours later I would get an email. It's like, hey, this is done, and so it was another pleasant surprise. It was awesome, but look, it's super simple. I know, I mean, simply speaking, like. You seem like you had so much like context before getting into the industry, even though I know you didn't. Um, and it was quick, things were concise. We have kind of an oddly specific format in the way we write stories, which you sort of were able to pick up pretty much within the first story. I mean, right away, that was never an issue. Um, you responded in, basically 30 minutes to everything I ever sent you. And again, it's just from a capacity, like I don't really have anything bad to say. I don't to be honest. And I'm not just making that up. Like again, it was very smooth. We got into a good flow. Um, it was a once a week cadence, so it wasn't anything crazy. But as far as the stories, yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was just like, it seemed to me that when you would deliver a story, like you would think that you would have kind of already had known like that you were in the industry, or like because of the context and sort of the depth that you were able to get into and stuff you were able to add.